We gather here tonight to bring women back to their rightful place.
The Testaments, a new Hulu original series from the executive producers of The Handmaid's Tale.
It's easier to accept a story than believe that the people around you are monsters.
The battle isn't over.
There comes a time when you have to take action, when you have to choose your own destiny.
Never quite as it seems.
Watch the new Hulu original series, The Testaments, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Welcome to an excerpt of the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy. Jamie Wise from Buzz Index has dropped by the basement for his usual appearance. And if you remember last month when Jamie dropped by, he had some bad news from social media. Not about the index, bad news in general, that people were starting to maybe feel that this big run we've been on might be coming to an end. Let's listen in to Jamie and I talk to see if there's more news on that front. And for our second headline today, we're joined by our, what do we call him, our social media investing expert, Jamie Wise from the Buzz Index joins us. Is that what we're going to call you?
It works for me, I guess. I haven't given too much time thinking about my title, but if you want to put me in that category, happy to be there.
I know, we have to figure out what to put on your name tag when you come down to the basement, you know?
How about just Jamie?
That's right. It's the Jamie, the professional Jamie. Well, you and I, we should tell everybody, give people a little look behind the curtain, because you are out of town next week at the end of the month. I'm out of town the first week of the new month. So we're talking a little early, so we don't have the March numbers yet. But generally, so far, we're taping this on March 24th. So far, that negativity that you saw from the buzz online, it still persists, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it in the market, right? We're seeing weakness in the market. We're seeing rallies being sold. And we're seeing some of that reflected in what we're monitoring in online conversations, where people are getting more cautious. We saw that in the last couple of months in the financial sector. And now we're seeing people starting to reallocate in their portfolio the same way, going a little bit more defensive.
Well, let's talk about one of those names that left. Tesla is that completely out of the index?
It is completely out of the index now. And what a name this one is to follow in our index. It's in, it's out. And of course, the stock is moving all over the place. I think just the abundance of news that we've seen around Tesla in the last month has had people just getting a little more cautious on the company. There's management departures. There's really big equity offerings and secondary market offerings, raising debt to be able to fund all of their really grandiose growth initiatives, to fund the Model 3, to fund the Model X updates. You know, I think people are just hearing too much almost, that it's making them think about, wait a second, there is a long trajectory to this name and time to take a pause.
I don't think, though, Jamie, that Tesla's out of your index for good. It seems like not only do they get a lot of discussions online, I see Tesla discussions all the time, but it ping-pongs a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It's really one of those polarizing names, right? And that's what the exciting thing is about listening to a broad amount of conversation, because when you talk to any one person individually, they have a polarizing view on Tesla as an investment. I think by and large, people like the brand. The cars are really cool, right? They do as advertised. But the stock is just so expensive. So from an investment perspective, it is polarizing. And you shouldn't listen to any one expert to get the consensus view. You really need that broad audience to understand it.
Well, let's talk about a brand that I don't see nearly as cool. I use them, even though I always think that I shouldn't. Verizon is in the news. Verizon, if you want to sponsor the show, I promise I'll stop ripping you. But Verizon's in right now.
What a classic story of a brand that people just don't love. And it's that whole space, right? You get that monthly bill and it drives you nuts. But from an investment perspective, it's pretty rock solid, right? It's a defensive name. And
sure,
even though last month they actually had earnings that were below market expectations, the stock dropped about 5% on those earnings. And then the conversation online from an investment perspective turned the other way. Now with that stock going on sale, if you would, you know, people like the dividend yield. It's a steady stock. People still need Verizon's communication. And sure enough, after that, the company came back and not only announced that they would be continuing their strategy of increasing dividends year over year, which they've done for years and years now, but they're also bringing back the buyback. And that's going to help support the stock going forward. People like that.
Yeah. When you see that, people fleeing toward the dividend paying stocks, that once again, you want to stay in equities because you don't want to just fold. But where do you run? You run to high dividends.
Yeah, and when a company like Verizon is paying a 4.5% dividend yield, and you compare that to what you can get in the fixed income markets, it's an easy choice.
But even though the financial names, a lot of them have been stripped out of the index after really fueling the run up at the end of last year and early this year, Jamie, the technology stocks have not. Those are still seem to be on fire and a big part of what's in the buzz.
Yeah, the sentiment around those stocks is not changing. People are still really positive on the prospects for technology, how it's going to impact us moving forward, and how the companies that are at the leading edge of that technological innovation are going to benefit from it, and their stock prices will benefit from it. So, we're really focused in on the chip makers here, where we've had AMD and NVIDIA as a part of our portfolio for a while, which has really fueled a lot of the growth in the index. But most recently, in the latest rebalance, we had Micron, really moving up the ranks and going to a near full weight in our index. And sure enough, last night they report earnings. The stock is up 8% as we're talking. It was up as high as 10% this morning. So I think people really are on the right path, understanding the value that these companies can bring to their shareholders over time.
And sure enough, historically, during market downturns, technology tends to go where it's going to go. I mean, unless you're talking about people just stopping buying computers. If it gets really bad, technology will go down. But a lot of time you can avoid that with some of these mid-cap and small-cap tech stocks.
Yeah, and you know what? The beta on these stocks is actually going lower, right? Because people view them as stable long-term investments. And where, Google or Apple might have been a high beta name, or we still instinctively think of them as high beta names, investors don't. They recognize that these are very large companies now with multiple avenues to be able to generate future growth. And the stock trading reflects that. They just don't swing as much as you used to. People are positive. There's a solid source of demand behind them.
It's interesting. I can't wait to see what happens in the next month. I hope that the buzz isn't right. We all fear that it is, that finally the market's gonna finally really well, and it started coming down, as you very well know, but I hope we don't see a lot more of that. I hope next time we talk to you, the market's up, 15%?
Yeah, and even if it's not, if you have to be invested in equities and you don't want to try and time things, you want to make sure you're invested in those stocks that has the best demand characteristics behind them. So at least you can cushion some of the blow.
And for more information on the Buzz Index, it's stackingbenjamins.com/BUZZ. And we should talk about this for a second. There's the exchange traded fund, and that's just slightly different than the index. You've got the index, but you can buy the index as an exchange traded fund, ticker symbol BUZ.
You got it. NYSE ARCA listed.
Awesome. By the way, I also need to tell people this disclosure that I own shares in the Buzz Index. I've been a happy investor. Doesn't mean that it's for everybody out there, but I will disclose that I own shares in the index. Jamie Wise, thanks for hanging out, man.
Great to be here again, Joe. Have a great trip.
Once again, to purchase the Buzz Index, that's ticker symbol BUZ. For more on the Buzz Index, head to stackingbenjamins.com/BUZZ. And for more on the Stacking Benjamin Show, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.